Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Express, which is becoming everyone's favorite talk show. It is profoundly real and interesting, so without any further delay, please help me welcome back to the stage the beautiful and expressive director of Express, Carolyn. Carolyn, take it away.
Good evening, everyone. This is Carolyn, your host for Express Talk Show. It's been so exciting. I'm excited to be here again. It has been a long time, but as I explained in my previous episode, the reason for that. But it is so refreshing to be back. Now, I just don't want to take up the time. I just want to ask you quickly if you could just subscribe right now, like, and share so that others who will be notified or you will be kept notified of all these great contents that will be published. I do not want to delay because my guest today is a busy, busy man. His name is Dr. Morton Anthony Frankson. He's a graduate of the University of West Indies as a general practice physician. He graduated from Loma Linda University of Public Health, National Health, Health Promotion, Preventive Care Focus, and Epidemiology and Biostatistics. Health and Temperance Director in 1980 to 1981 with West Indies Union Conference of STA. He's a physician. He was a physician at Andrews University Hospital in the 1980s. And he was a medical officer of health, primary health care with Adra, Jamaica, in Trenchtown, Kingston, Jamaica, from 1982 to 1988. He was a coordinator for adolescent health and youth development in California with Riverside County, India Health Service. He was the owner of the Health Evaluation Consulting Service based in Loma Linda, California. He was also a chief medical officer in the Ministry of Health for the government of Turks and Caicos Island from 2004 to 2006. He was a health research scientist and lecturer in epidemiology, biostatistics, and medical humanities. He is an ordained elder, presently serving at the Centreville Estate Church in Nassau, Bahamas. He's married to Miris Frankson for 20 years. Has one son alive, whose name is Gregory, and a lovely granddaughter by the name of Alicia. Retiring presently and looking forward to future work with our union's university in the near future. He enjoys giving spiritual, grounded health presentations, etc., and has done research in Loma Linda, California, Jamaica, and the Bahamas with over 200 research projects completed. He's a long-standing member of the AHPA in the Bahamas. Could I go on? Yes. But I choose not to because he is here and he will tell us in more detail of what he has achieved and how much he has helped humanity in this earth all over the world. So, without further delay, Dr. Martin Anthony Frankson. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for coming in. I know you're busy, as I said before, so I am not going to prolong the greeting. But thank you so much for coming in and for taking the time out to share your story. And I know and I hope that my audience will be seated, relaxed, and listening so that they can learn so much from you. For the little I know of you, because I have never met you, you sound like you are a humble man. In fact, you are humble to be here. Just that alone tells me that you're humble. So Thank you. And we look forward to hearing your story. Now, let's get started. Where should we start? How is your day going so far?
It's been fun. I went to bed a little late working on things and got up early and went to an ethics committee meeting, just finished that, and headed back over to be just with you and your
Oh,
audience.
yes. So I'm so fortunate. We are so fortunate here to have you. Ethics committee. Wow. Not everybody is into ethics. Tell me a little bit about generally what's not what the meeting was about, but you were in ethics committee, and you're also a part of other things. So, but tell me a little bit about what you focus on when you deal with that.
Well, this particular one is really functioning as an institutional review board for research projects.
Yeah.
And the projects are different research projects from students who are working on their master's and their doctorate degrees.
Okay.
And they are also including nursing, physical therapy, and medical doctors, and so forth. The Bahamas is where I've been since 2009 until now. I was with UWI from 2006 until 2009, and then that's in Kingston, in Mona, Jamaica. And then from there now, I've been in the Bahamas, same UWI, University of the West Indies.
Mm-hmm.
And in both places, I served on ethics committees for the medical faculty. And this one is for the university and the joint public health authorities for the Bahamas. You know, the Bahamas has 700 countries, 700 islands,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe about 20 something of them are inhabited seriously. Um, there are others that become inhabited when you park a boat right on the beach and run there. And it's so small that by the time you leave, you were the only inhabitant, so it's now empty again. Anyway, the Bahamas has a lot of potential for good research and for doing that to take care of their people in health
Okay.
research. And
Okay.
consequently, what you find is that they come up with a variety of areas that they want to research. Um, from should we, how far have we moved along with having breastfeeding friendly hospitals
Mm-hmm.
to a variety of areas with regarding to lifestyle choices, a variety of areas with regarding let's say, the eye diseases, heart diseases, etc. All
Mm-hmm.
those students and faculty members choose areas for research so that with the evidence we can make better policy decisions. And it has been wonderful just serving in Jamaica from 2006 to 2009, and then here in the Bahamas from 2009 to the present as I lecture here, serving to help to increase the knowledge of people regarding what really is going on. You sometimes you look around and you think you know what's going on until you actually do a survey and you
Mm-hmm.
hear from the actual participants, and then you see how close you were to what really is the reality or how far you were. And then, of course, with better evidence, you now can make better policy decisions and advise your patients better, and so on and so forth. So that is basically, in a nutshell, that what we do there. In ethics, we are looking for is the research showing respect for the people, confidentiality and privacy, and all of that.
Yes.
We're trying not to do any harm. We're also looking at um, making sure that we actually do good, not
Right.
just don't do harm, but that it will probably the likelihood is that it will do good. Of course, you never know until you finish the project. But then the other area too is that we're righteous, we're just.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to pick on serving children just because they're at a home, a place of safety, and they're easy to pick on, or prisoners, or the elderly in an elderly home. If something is going to be researched and the results may benefit all of society, we want the members of all of society, samples from all of the society, to be in on our research project. So you in with it, and when the time comes and the results are great, it can benefit. We know how it works. We know whatever it is that we're researching, how it really works in the elderly, in the more educated, the less educated, those in the rural areas, the urban areas. In the case of the Bahamas, those in New Providence, Nassau, the big island where 70% of the people live, versus those in the rest of the country, the other 20 odd islands, where tiny numbers of people live, and so
Okay.
on and so forth. So we have to be fair with all of that. And in being fair, we actually now create more harmony in the way that we actually um, in the way that we actually make sure that our research is leading the way for our decision making.
Okay. So, can I ask you what fascinated you so much to go into research?
I was always interested in it from high school, at
Okay.
least from primary education. I was always inquisitive, um, just like most people. Only
Mhm.
thing, I got an opportunity to be educated in how to do it properly,
But
and
then,
um, and it's an area that we have to make sure that is attended to, because you don't want to be doing the same thing the same way
same
all your
way,
life when
right?
there
Right.
probably is a better way to do
To
it.
do it.
And
Yes.
you don't want to be holding on to the old information when there is more current information that is more useful. And
Hmm.
is um, all of that is what we all of that is what we are actually doing.
Hmm.
And we we have to make sure that we are attending to that in a way that will keep people as um, factual as possible.
Can you remember the first research that you took part into with? And we're going to just talk about that, and then we're going to come back to research at the end of the.
That's a funny one, because actually the first piece of research that I ever participated in was when I was a medical student, and
Okay.
my professor was investigating a tablet. I think it was a sleeping tablet, and I was just in my first year of medical school, and those days we didn't even have an ethics committee on the campus back in the early 1970s. And he just asked in the class, are there any volunteers that will take this sleeping tablet? And I just want to see how the body handles it. And I volunteered among a few of us. And he got me a big bottle, a big brown bottle to collect urine all through. Every time I wake up, I should pass urine. And in the morning, the next day, I bring a whole 24 hours collection of urine.
Right. You're the
And
guinea
he took,
pig, right?
he took blood on me. and and I didn't even, I was just a medical student. I didn't understand, in our system, you go straight from high school to medical school.
Yeah.
And I didn't know all the ethical things and all of that, that I should have a consent form signed and all of that. I just volunteered because my professor said so.
Yes.
And of course, it turned out well. I slept well that day.
Uh-huh.
I slept well. I got up. I remember I got up in the night and was hungry, and I walked from the dorm up to Papine, and I was kind of half drunk. I got some food, came back to the dorm. I lived in Irvine Hall at the university, and ate the food, sat up for a little bit to let it digest, and then went right back to sleep
Sleep.
after I did my urine collection and things. And the next day, I was so proud walking across the campus with my full bottle and handed it to him with pride. But
And look
I
where
thought,
it has brought you today.
I thought he would give me a higher grade for that. But I did come second in the class in that class in physiology. I was the second highest score in physiology. So it was from a love of that. Yes, but
Okay.
medicine is based on that, and not just medicine, business, finance, tourism, what agriculture, the church. Everyone is doing
Even
research.
at home with a housewife, right?
Oh yes, yeah. It
Yes.
is good to search out things. The Bible says you must search out matters,
Yes.
and I'm glad that it is something, a way of learning how how God has structured and makes this world function.
Right, right, right.
And yeah,
So you have now. Let's get it together now. You were in Bahamas, and your parents are in on Turks and Caicos, right? Which is a part of.
well, my father died in 2010, one
Mhm.
year after I came to the Bahamas. I used to take care of him for the last few years of his life, and then I got this job. My two youngest sisters moved in and took care of him and allowed me to come to the Bahamas. And so he passed off the year after I came here.
Mhm.
And
Tell me a
the
little bit about your
my
mom when
mother,
you
my
finish.
mother, it's going strong. She's still that she's 95, and the other day she fell down a few months ago. She broke her hip, or the leg bone actually. The top piece of the leg bone just popped right off, which happens sometimes in the elderly as the bones get thin.
Dinner, yeah.
They had to put a rod right down through the shaft of it and another one right across the broken top piece. And then they screwed them together. And then they screwed it close to the knee as well, where the rod went down all the way near to the knee in the hole in the bone.
Mhm.
Um, and, that's where the marrow is. And they screwed all of that together. And she hasn't really been able to, her upper body is not as strong as some people. So she hasn't been able to use a walker that much. So she's mostly in the wheelchair or in the bed. But man, she owns a school, and
Yeah,
the children from the school have come across and really been visiting her and all of that, and that
wow,
has really boosted her. And you should see her; she's
that's
as sharp as ever, and definitely is elderly. The mental state of an elderly person, but she is quite able to put me in my place if I need to be put in my place.
thank God. So she planted seeds and it's coming right back. Cast your bread upon the waters and it may come.
Yes,
It will
yes,
come
and
after many days.
she has
Yes.
done wonderfully. She built two schools after she retired from teaching in
Oh.
Jamaica. She came to the Turks and Caicos because my sister had married a Turks Islander, and
Mm.
they were busy in government and so forth. And my mom just came right after she retired to help them to raise those children. And
Mm.
she started the first school in their home at the garage, and it grew and had to
Wow.
come out of the garage, and it
I'll
became a
have to
nice formal school. And
wow, I'll have to interview her sometime. She sounds like a
absolutely
great
wonderful.
person.
Uh,
Yes, yes.
the next when they moved to the next island that was developing with tourism, and so she moved with them, but she gave the older school to the church and as a gift. And now she has
Oh,
another school that she started in the garage in that
wow.
other place when she started there too,
Tell
from
us
humble beginnings. Um, it's just wonderful how God has blessed.
it's
And
prosper to
so
her.
she's benefiting from it. Yeah, you indeed cast your bread upon the waters.
Yes, find it
It is
after
returning.
many days.
Yes,
Okay. So while you were, because you did do your training in Jamaica, University of West Indies, yeah?
both in Jamaica at the University of the West Indies and with Loma Linda University. I started out
Okay.
with the Loma Linda University, getting a scholarship, 100 scholarships from the Swedish government, and just gave them out in the Caribbean. And so we met folks from Aruba, Bonaire, Trinidad, Barbados, well, you name it. Jamaica, of course, had a few, and Puerto Rico and Dominican Republic, and so on. And our first class in public health was actually held in Medellin, in Colombia, during the days when it was a hotbed of drug trafficking.
Mm.
And that was interesting. It was held at a college, at university there in Medellin. And the second class, we used to have classes, we used to have 6 weeks to 2 months of pre-course work. And then that would set you up so that they could go night and day teaching you for a month, four semesters, four classes, one class each week, and then you had another 2 months of post course work. So you had that's what 2, 4. 5 months of the year, intense learning and on time deadline assignments. And you do that again and again for 4 years. And that's how I got my first major in international health. And it was a wonderful experience traveling from Colombia. The next year I was in Trinidad in Maracas Valley. The next year I was in Mandeville in Jamaica. And then the next year I was in Puerto Rico,
Wow.
in Mayagüez, Puerto Rico.
Mm.
And um, that was just the kind of experience you needed if you were getting an international health degree.
Mm-hmm.
You needed not to be just sitting in a classroom in one country, but
Mm-hmm.
sampling from different countries. And the mix of the class members, they were all from all over the region.
Mm-hmm.
It was a rich experience, very rich experience.
And I see that you're very good at taking challenges to get up and go when you have to. I think that's really, I've observed that from what I've learned about you so far. You don't, you know,
Yeah,
you don't let anything stop you. And in the process, it's like something is there always waiting for you, you know?
indeed, indeed. And I asked God to lead.
Yes,
And when he opens the door, I ask him for the faith to step through that door.
yes, yes.
So he has been faithful, he has never disappointed. It's always been a rich experience. And I think I had the better for it.
Yeah.
After I came back from that 4 years of training,
Mm-hmm.
I asked the university if they had anything harder for me to do because I loved international health so much that it was just a joy, and it was my medical school training had given me a great foundation.
Yes.
And then so they said, "Would you like health administration?" I said, "Sounds interesting, but um, I really was thinking of something more on the care side." And they said, "Then would you like something really difficult?" I said, "What do you have in mind?" They said, "Biostatistics." I said, "Oh my goodness. Yes, sign me up for that." When I was in medical school, they taught us some kind of biostatistics in the first quarter of the first year,
Uh-huh.
and every member in my class failed the class.
Wow.
And after that, we had to do a resit exam, and we really settled down and learned something, and we all passed. And then
Yes,
we proceeded. So I said, I would love to build upon that because that definitely was a weakness.
yes,
And
yes.
some people would run away from it because of
Mm.
that, but I ran into it. And really, in going into it, I realized now that it wasn't that hard. It just needed more time to be taught. Rather than to teach it in 1 month,
Mm-hmm.
we now had a whole year to learn, a year and a half actually to do a master's in it, a major in it.
Mm-hmm.
And it had time to sink in and to go much deeper than we had gone in that. And it made sense now. And it made sense for assisting people who want to do research as well. So I was engaged in some of that too, helping
Right.
people who
Because
are trying to
research
do the
needs
research
statistics.
and
Yes.
who are a little bit afraid of that, but they hadn't gone into the immersed into the depth. And I was able to help. And as I helped, I would grow. And I also did epidemiology, which, as you know, is the study of the outbreaks and
Mm-hmm.
the major things that are plaguing our society health wise.
Mm-hmm.
And the two complemented each other. And then after that, I did my fourth major was in um, health education, mostly health promotion in the sense of preventative care, as you said when you were introducing me. And that
Mm-hmm.
was tremendous because that now let me focus on obesity and chronic diseases, diabetes, cancers, and so on in a way that we could introduce a preventative lifestyle. And that really enriched everything for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it got me interested in youth development and teen pregnancy prevention. And I was doing that for a while.
You said
And
teen
after that,
pregnancy prevention, right?
yes, yes. And
Yes,
all of that
yes.
time now, I was in California. I
Mm.
was
Tell
in
us more
after the
about that, because as a midwife, I remember delivering a 10-year-old when I was
yes,
in England.
yeah.
and she did
Precocious.
not know. She was screaming when there was no contractions.
Oh
And I
my
had to
goodness.
sit and talk with her and
Yeah.
explain to her exactly what she was terrified, you know.
Hmm. Hmm.
So the fact that you got involved in that, tell us more about that.
Yeah. I got. I like the way that I got involved in it. I didn't get involved in it from a medical point of view. I
Mm-hmm.
got involved in it from the social point of view.
Mm-hmm.
And what we did was we approached teen pregnancy by emphasizing to youth how important it is for them to develop properly.
Right.
Stay in school. You can make it. It
Yes.
might be hard right now, but hang in there
Keep
as you
focused.
build on what you learned. It was difficult.
Mm-hmm.
That makes the next thing that is difficult less difficult. And so finally you graduate and you're marketable, you're proud of yourself, you're able to get better jobs, you can move on to college better, and so on and so forth. And
Mm-hmm.
you mature without um, having some of the mistakes that a person who drops out of school would do.
Like, yeah.
And that was one of the major things. We also involved their parents, and we would have parenting classes for their parents of these youth, so that when they go home, the youth go home, they go home to parents who are now better able to have not just laissez-faire homes. Anybody do what they want to do, but or not the other extreme either, which is authoritarian homes where they're just yelling at you and commanding like you're in the military, but have
Mm-hmm.
more authoritative or what we call democratic homes
Mm-hmm.
that everybody is respected and this included in decision making at according to your level of maturity. And even the matter of punishment, punishment is left for when things that was the last resort, but rather we would resort to this disciplining, which is discipling.
Yes.
And you know, and a lot of these parents also were compelled to come to our parenting classes because the court instructed them to do that because maybe there was violence in the home and so on and so forth. Some of the times, not all the time, but several of those were. So all of those were wonderful experiences there in the central part of California,
Mm-hmm.
where we would get certain grants to do this, and it was wonderful. And at the same time, we would of course advise them on the wisdom of delaying having a child until you're ready and until you're better ready to be a parent and so, and you
Yes.
really want that child. And with all of
And
that, many more
these were
graduates and
young men and young ladies, right?
both, both,
Teenagers,
both.
right?
And then we would do a lot of the work was done in high school during the actual high school sessions.
Okay.
There would be parts in the curriculum carved out where our program would come in and teach those classes and so forth. Plus, we would have after school things. When I worked with them in around the city of San Bernardino and so forth, that was generally it. But when I worked with the Indian Health Service, we would actually have now sessions that were culturally relevant to Indian people,
Mm-hmm.
people of the native people.
Yeah.
We'd bring home the messages in their culture after hours. So we would meet and we would have all kinds of various things that would be in ways that made sense in the culture of an Indian person
Yeah. Well, they understood.
in North America. And that's when I learned that the biggest Indian tribe in the United States was actually Los Angeles. It's
Oh,
not somewhere out on a prairie. It's actually Los Angeles has the biggest concentration of Native Americans,
okay.
and so on and so forth. It's a long story for
Yeah.
another show, maybe, but
Yeah.
it is. It was really important work, and then we would track. We would, of course, teach them family planning and so forth as well. But that was not the main part of the program. We would honor those who chose for abstinence, but even if there were those who didn't agree with abstinence as the approach and wanted more other contraceptions, we wouldn't let that get in the way. We would get on with the main message, which
Mm-hmm.
is develop and grow as a human being. And then we would still educate them in the various technologies that come along with planning your pregnancy. But that wasn't the main agenda. The main agenda was to become a whole person. And
Yes.
we tracked the teen pregnancy rate, and we were part of a greater USA movement doing this with the great Doug Kirby, who is now dead. He
Mm.
was a leader. He was a genius of this approach, and Washington D.C. and so forth loved him for it. And we used his philosophy, and really, it worked because as we tracked these teen pregnancies across the United States during those days in the 1990s, going into the early 2000s, we saw teen pregnancy rates going down across the country.
Wonderful. Awesome.
Yes, so
That was beautiful.
I'm a strong believer in that
We should
approach.
we should really have more of that in the communities nowadays.
Hmm. Hmm.
We really should. Going to I know that you've been through some challenges, but despite that, you have achieved so much. And they're in my audience right now. They're looking at you and thinking, oh, well, he had nothing to be sad about. He seems like he had a good life. He just went from one to another with no challenges. Tell me a challenge that you had, just one or so forth, that you want to share with the audience today. One that you felt could have
I would say my
cheered you up
toughest
more.
challenge was the loss of my daughter when she was almost 4 years old. The
Okay.
leukemia that really stressed out our marriage, and really it was so hard to put to rest a young child full of potential.
Yes. And I guess
And,
at that time you had started your medicine at the time?
oh yeah, I was working at Kingston Public Hospital at the time as a
Right.
medical officer.
And that
Um,
made it worse, do you think? Because
I,
you
oh yes.
you knew what having leukemia, what it entails, but you felt you couldn't help, huh?
Well, I had what they taught me up to that time,
Mm-hmm.
and the technology has increased so much now. The knowledge has increased now, and the best that they had to offer treatment wise and
Time.
so forth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we did our best trying to manage it in my little daughter. Jody is her name, Jody Alisa.
Jody. Jody. Okay.
Yes. Jodi. And Alisa, Alisa. That's my granddaughter's name as well. My son
Yes,
named
yes,
his daughter that name
yes.
in honor of her,
In
um,
honor of
in
her.
honor of her aunt. Yeah.
Yes.
But it was tough.
How old would
It,
Jody Alicia be now?
my son is 45, so she would be 43,
43,
42,
43.
43. Yeah. So it's
Mm.
been quite a while now, but that is really something to bury a child that you just adore. And it's not supposed to be that way.
I
And
know.
everybody would agree with that. And
So
I'm
someone
not the only one.
so someone watching this show right now
Hmm.
heard that you mentioned that Jody Alicia died at 4 of leukemia. And someone is watching right now who has a child who is dying, not necessarily of leukemia, but is dying.
Hmm.
What would be your advice? Because you've been through it and everybody is different. But could you give us at least 3 points,
Hmm.
3 tips that you can give? So maybe these tips will really encourage. These are maybe 3 things that you actually did that kept you strong. Can you give that advice?
The first thing what I would say is you're not a failure
Okay.
because your child got sick.
Okay.
Because it wasn't due to negligence or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she probably got exposed. It could have been a virus that sometimes you get a simple cold while you're pregnant, and the virus just at the wrong time when the little baby is forming in the womb,
Mm-hmm.
and the virus passes through and passes over and just gets the gene from the virus gets included in your gene as a baby, and then you grow up with this little defect. It becomes now a cancer producing gene because it wasn't belonging there in the first place.
Mm.
And so it messes up the baby's maturity, etc., and it forms these things. They think that that's one of the theories as to why people get leukemia. So it starts from, and you didn't know it. I mean, anybody can get a cold. or something like that. That's one theory. There are others too, but so don't blame yourself,
Right.
and make sure that you know that God is in control, and you work along with God, and God is so much in control that He has planned that even if she dies, you will see her again
Mhm.
or him again.
Yeah.
And the next thing I would say is don't give up though. The technology that we had back there in the early 1980s
43
it,
years ago. Or
and it is
30
not
something years.
compared to the technology we have now. Now we have much better results with leukemia children now.
Mm.
And the same thing is happening for other things. The technology that was there a year, 5 years ago, there might be some breakthrough today or tomorrow. So keep hope alive and always explore with the experts. We went along with the experts. We didn't go along with the village person's advice only. I mean, some people are giving us some really crazy advice,
Mm.
like giving a 4-year-old raw foods to eat. I don't know how a 4-year-old is going to eat raw dasheen, raw cassava, raw banana, and raw things. Except for bright banana, of course, is delicious raw. But
Mm.
raw, and they were it's stuff that which we know now really does not work as much. We want to be healthy, yes. We want to do all the healthy things. A plant-based diet is a strong part of my family, but you must know where it helps and where you have to also add technology from medicine and so on. So we went along with that, and at the same time, I know that the technology wasn't enough in my day with my Jody. In fact, after we tried in Jamaica, we moved her to St. Bartholomew's Hospital, which I understand is where you trained as well as a nurse.
Yes, and that's the best of the
That
best.
was fantastic
Yeah.
fantastic care. And yet, still, that's where she died because they tried. When she reached there, she was so weak. When they gave her the first medicine stripped her from the mouth right through the gullet, the throat, the stomach, right down, stripped her. Adriamycin is the name of it. And
Mm.
they had to wait and feed her by her veins. They had to put all the nourishment in her veins in a milky solution. We call it hyperalimentation. And when
Mhm.
they built her up back, they told us one day that the cancer seems like it's gone. And we had such hopes. And they said they would use bone marrow treatment next. And we
Mm.
said, okay, okay, fine. But they explained to us, I remember the name of the doctor, Dr. Kingston, Professor Kingston. Professor Kingston came and said to me, us, but we're just experimenting with this. Half of those who we do bone marrow transplant on, the procedure kills them. And
Wow.
we said, what is the chance of if she gets this? She said, well, if she 100% that she will die if she doesn't get the procedure. So we said, let's go with the better probability. And she was getting ready for the bone marrow transplant. And they said, let us do one more bone marrow test on her, on blood test to see if the cancer is still free from her body. Because they
Mm.
were just amazed at how the adriamycin, although it had stripped her, it looked like it had knocked the cancer out.
Mhm.
But it was not to be. The next blood test told her that they see it's evidence of it returning again.
Wow.
And they said they had very little options left. So they gave her a medication, said that that was the last resort. And if that one works, they'll go ahead with the bone marrow. If it doesn't work, um, she would just have to pass off. And not only did it not work, well, that might have worked, but it was too strong for her.
Oh,
And that medication shut down her bone marrow.
wow.
Methotrexate was the name of it. And that medication, with that, she just passed off in a week or two. And
Mm.
then we took her back to Jamaica for the burial and so.
Right.
But but we never doubted that the doctors had and the nurses and so had done their best. And when I remember when we were funeralizing her, I stepped to the back of the church in distress and grief. I just stepped out to clear my head, and I distinctly heard a voice that said, "You will see her again in the
Oh,
new." and that was just a peaceful thing for me. And
Yes. Hold on.
I was just, I believe in the blessed hope
Yeah.
that we will see, if we are faithful to Jesus, we will definitely see those. And this is just, death then made a sense for me that death is just a comma. It's not a period
Oh, yeah.
in life. It's just a little comma in the sentence and paragraphs of life, and much to look forward to.
Okay.
So that was a tough one. And we didn't recover from it for years after.
Wow.
We never really recovered either. We just
Keep going.
replaced it with other good things in our lives and so on. But bringing it up always is a sad experience. But
Mm.
with
Yes.
hope that we will see her again.
Yes. Yes. Well, thank you so much. The 3 points: don't feel guilty. God
Hmm.
is in control. Keep
Hmm.
holding on to God, and
Hmm.
keep hope alive.
Even the blessed hope, yes, the hope,
Hope
and
alive.
not just hope, but hope in Christ,
Christ. Hope in Christ.
the real one who knows how to handle the situation.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
So I know in August coming, there's
Hmm.
going to be a great change in your life. Do you want to share that, or you want to talk
Yeah,
about?
I finished with the Bahamas in end of July. So, the policy of the university is once you're 65, you should move on unless you are uh, highly favored and a few special folks that they keep on. But they normally universities keep their older folks alive as golden treasures. But what happening is that they also have to face the fact that young people are coming in with new ideas, etc.
Mhm.
So sometimes in a resource constrained university like ours, and, we step out of the way so that the young persons can get a chance to be employed and to have a long life until their time to retire too.
And you have
So,
trained a lot, right? So,
oh yes, I've trained quite a few. Thank God,
yeah.
I've been privileged for that. Um, Hundreds of them, and this is that's one of the blessings of the University of the West Indies. It really,
Blessing of
uh,
teaching, I think.
sorry.
I think that's the blessing of being a professor, a teacher.
Yes, I've lectured in medical humanities and in biostatistics and epidemiology and research, health research in general,
Yeah.
and it has been really a blessing strengthening people in that aspect of their training.
Mhm.
And you watch to see how they now that plant that that seed that you've planted, how it will grow,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
how it will use the principles
You taught
to
them.
change things in society for the better. I also hope that they will forget some of the foolishness that I taught them, because we say in medicine 50% of what we teach you is wrong. We just don't know which 50% it is, but time will tell. So
Yeah.
I hope they will forget the nonsense and replace it with new stuff. 50% of which will be nonsense too, but time will tell them too. But that's how research as well as actual hands-on practice come together as a wonderful partner to help humanity. But that's that. And then I move on to back to Jamaica. The plan is hopefully to Mandeville, to Jamaica. Cool Mandeville, to Northern Caribbean University. When I
University.
was young, it used to be called West Indies College.
Me
It's
too.
older. It's older. It's older than University of the West Indies.
I
So it has
know.
a high spiritual and legacy, a value and legacy that is everything to be proud of. So I hope we can do wonderful things there where I will continue in the same areas that I have been practicing in, strengthening research and strengthening people's understanding of how to use statistics to delve into things, but not just statistics, philosophy as well, and mathematics and other things as well. That there are areas, because I'm hoping it will give me a chance to strengthen it, not only in medicine now, but in theology, because they do research in theology too. People didn't know that. sometimes in education, in the sciences and so forth, and administration and so on. So I love that because I didn't only have to be a doctor. I was born with a very broad outlook, and I could have been happy with any profession. Medicine was where I was guided, but I think I would be happy in any of the decent, honorable, noble professions. And so in my 70s now, I get a chance to test out that theory. Yes, I was saying I get a chance now in medicine to test out that theory as to whether I would be happy in any of the general areas of this noble thing called higher education and how it,
Yes.
can lift up society.
Yes, I know. And see, you will be a better place. You being there. I know that. And I'm looking forward to another interview when you get there and settle in and things start happening. I know your personality. I
Ah,
haven't met you personally, but and this is why I know. I know you're a humble man. You know a lot, and you talk to anyone. I think you have the personality that can get on with everyone. You know, so I look forward to hearing great
yes.
things from you.
Well,
Thank you. You're saying well.
I will be among friends. I will be
Yes,
among
yes, and
friends,
that's what
and
we.
that is the part
Yes,
that
yes, that's what
thrills
we
me the
important.
most. I'll be among
Yes, yes,
friends, brothers and sisters who, um, some of them I've even grown up with and gone to school in California with some of them, and so on and so forth, and other places. So it's a positive experience that I'm looking forward to.
yes, yes, yes. I'm so glad you could make it here. Take the time out from your busy schedule to come and have a conversation with us. So thank you so much, and until goodbye, until we talk again. Take care, and thank you for coming and talking with us and sharing your
Thank you
knowledge.
so much. It's been an
All
honor.
right.
It's been a
Yes,
pleasure.
yes, yes, yes. Thank you. Okay. So usually at the end of a presentation, I usually leave a thought. But before I do, I want to just ask you, you may have just stopped by today. Please subscribe, share, and and like. And for those of our regular um, visitors, audience, thank you for coming. Thank you for following up. And thank you for listening. And I hope you're not just listening, but you're learning. There was so much to learn from Dr. Frankson today. At the end of each presentation, I always leave a thought. I'm going to leave two thoughts today. And the first one is by Bernard Kelvin Clive, and it says, until you dare to take up new challenges, you wouldn't discover your full potential. And this is what Dr. Frankson did. Let's listen to the other one. And this is by Marie Curie. He said, nothing in life is to be feared, it is only to be understood. Now is the time to understand more so that we may fear less. Let me read it again by Marie Curie. Nothing in life is to be feared. It is only to be understood. Now is the time to understand more so that we may fear less. Thank you for being here. This is Carolyn saying goodbye, the host for Express. Until we see you again. Bye bye.